Hi, my name's James. I'm the Digital Inclusion Team Leader for Community Learning Bristol.
I'm Chris Baldwin. I'm one of the IT tutors for Community Learning.
Excellent. So what we thought we'd do is we want to look at some of the questions that tutors typically ask around internet safety, around scams, and it just made more sense to do that as a conversation, to sort of pull apart some of those talking points. So this is more of a video for tutors to pick up some useful tips rather than a video to show to learners, although hopefully it's going to be good enough for that purpose. So we've got Suzanne behind the camera and she's going to feed us some questions. So Suzanne, what's the sort of top thing people want to know about?
So I think it'd be really useful if you could let us know about how to spot an email scam. Okay,
well we've had lots of email scams sort of presented to us, and certainly lots come through to the council. What's the sort of what things you've seen the most of lately?
Generally it is scammers pretending to be another company or organisation that you deal with.
So a phishing scam.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Their ultimate goal is to get your information. So it will be delivery companies, banks, HMRC saying, oh, you're owed some tax back.
So that's a top tip. The HMRC never contacts you to give money back. It's just basically something doesn't happen. You can sort of guarantee that one. That's not happening.
So those are the most common ones that you're getting is the phishing scams.
Okay. So would you say it's all high pressure stuff in some sense? Like you need to act now. We've got money for you. We need to act now. We need your money because you haven't paid us.
Yeah, there's definitely a time sensitivity to it. They put you under pressure. So, like you say, that would be things like you have a deadline to claim this money back, or you are overdue paying us this thing, or something has been ordered from your account that you don't recognise, and you need to cancel it within this amount of time, or we're going to charge you.
Actually, my old boss was caught out with a scam exactly like that, and he had a DPD message saying, we've got an iPhone 10 or whatever it was at the time for you, which of course they, as we know, we get a message from DPD, it just tends to be, you know, your parcel consignment from a company you've never heard of, logistics warehouse, is on its way. But he gave them all his details, he was so excited. I said, what are you expecting? iPhone? No. But they're sending me one. Like, someone's randomly sending an iPhone 10.
Yes.
Do you think it might be a scam? He was an IT manager, and he was just like, oh my God, what have I done? So it happens to everyone.
Yeah, it does, and particularly because more and more people, especially since the pandemic, are shopping online, and sometimes it can be somewhat easy to lose track of what you've ordered, especially if it isn't coming the next day, maybe having to wait a week or two. So getting messages and saying, oh, we got something due to be delivered to you, might not be that surprising. So as you say, in a case like that, where it's like, we're delivering this high value item to you, it falls into that. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't true.
Yeah. Certainly we get lots of deliveries at the moment. I mean, it's become so easy to order small items, a few pounds here, people say there's no delivery cost except for the poor person who's digging into a bottle to deliver it to your house. It becomes like an onslaught of 3 deliveries a day, or the same person turn up multiple times in a day. It's embarrassing, really. Turns up with packages for you. So it is easy to lose track. I suppose that the takeaway is really don't necessarily respond straight away to those emails.
No. And with the delivery things as well, you'll find that you'll get them by text message as well. There's no escape really from these scam messages, emails, calls, text messages. Generally, if something says there is a delivery for you, potentially have a look through your emails for the last week, or log into your Amazon or other shopping account, just see if, oh yeah, I did order this. But try and avoid going directly on any links they send you.
And what other things can our learners look out for to spot a scam email?
So, well, the classic example normally is that things are intentionally littered with mistakes. So they would say, well, a lot of scams are intentionally badly written, so they want to weed people out who are going to report it or not do anything with it. They want the people who are going to be more gullible. But having said that, there's plenty of scams that do the opposite. They'll just take a complete copy of a DPD message or a Royal Mail message or the bank and just paste it in. So it's perfect. It's a literal copy of the real thing.
Yeah.
So I don't suppose that's really a useful message for learners anymore.
No. I mean, it can be one of the most obvious signs if you're reading through it and you spot, poor English in there.
Yeah.
That's unlikely to be coming from a legitimate company. But as you say, because people are getting sort of savvy to that, they now do, as you say, exact copies of what you would expect from a company, and it's very easy to do. So some of the other things to look out for are checking the email address, but not the start of it. You need to open up that email, which in itself should be safe as long as you don't click anything in it or open any attachments. And then look at the full email address, because it'll usually say the individual or company's name at the beginning, followed by their email address. And they can use that to disguise where it's really coming from. So at the start, they might have said amazon.co.uk, but that's their name. Yeah. If you follow all the way to the end of that email address, that's the real part to look for.
Yeah. And we'll probably put an overlay up over the screen now. We've got there's multiple ways where they'll do things like just before the .co.uk, they'll have, instead of bookings.amazon, which would be something owned by Amazon, they'll have amazons.booking, which is something owned by Booking. So they might have, sketchy something, amazon.sketchywebsite.com. So it's got nothing to do with Amazon, they've just created a little subdomain off there. So we see that quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I say it's just checking, hovering a mouse over things. So we can have it on the screen now. Hovering a mouse over and just seeing where the links go.
Yeah. So again, the main thing that these scammers will try and do is they want your information, so they want to get you on their website where you will fill in a form with all your information, and that will be a link in the email. It'll be a button or some text for you to click on that will take you there. And it may look like a genuine thing. In the case of Amazon, it might look like their yellowy buttons. So put your mouse over that thing without clicking on it, and in the bottom left-hand corner, again, we should have something on screen. Arrow over the bottom left-hand corner, and you should see the link pop up there where it will really take you. If it then says amazon.co.uk or whatever you're expecting, should be fine. If it doesn't, that one's a scam. You can do the same thing on your phone, but on your phone you don't have a mouse and keyboard. So on your phone, what you have to do is press and hold on the button or the link. Press and hold until a little box pops up, and that will tell you the true address.
So I suppose what we're saying, the takeaway for this section really is anything unusual is inherently suspicious. So if you get messages from your bank, typically nowadays they will be empty. I get a message from my bank all the time. It's Halifax. We've got a message for you. Please log in. So it's boring. It doesn't say you're expecting money or this has failed, or they're just empty messages. And then things from Amazon, they've got a certain format. This is on the way to you. Here it is. This is a picture of it, the link. So if you haven't got that and it's saying, oh wow, we've got this massively expensive item that we can't give you details about coming, it's probably fake.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Right, Suzanne, you've got another question for us?
Yeah, so I think a question that I get asked quite a lot is about how can I make my password really secure? So it'd be great to hear from both of you. What are your top tips for password security? Okay,
well, I suppose we should talk about why we have password security very briefly. I don't want to waffle on too much. So the purpose of having a good, strong password is mainly nowadays, I would say, it's people in foreign countries or people with just using automated systems to guess your password. That's it. So it's an automated system. They can go to a target website and they can just attempt to crack it. It doesn't help us in terms of when companies and banks lose our password. That doesn't really help. It does happen, unfortunately. But you may as well have a really good password so that somebody can't do an automated attack on your account and then just log in without you knowing about it.
Yeah. And then when it comes to password security, having good passwords, there's always a trade-off in any type of security between convenience and security. It's like in our own homes. It'd be very convenient for us to just leave our doors unlocked and just walk in and out whenever we want, not have to find our keys. And but we know it's not secure.
On your house, or?
Not yet.
Yeah, okay.
So there is that trade-off. And as time goes on, things need to become more secure. In the early days of the internet, a 6-character password was fine. They didn't bother about special characters and things. Now you're looking at Most websites will have a minimum of 8, and that's not even considered that secure anymore.
Yeah.
You're looking at sort of 12 to 16 characters generally as a minimum to be quite secure now.
Yeah. So yeah, the security of your password is basically a factor of how large a space it takes up. So when I say space, I'm thinking of how many possibilities there are in that password. So if you've got just numbers, and it's a 10-character password, you've got a 1 billion, is that 1 billion? Around that, sort of number of options. It's a big number. If you then say, well actually it could be characters as well from the English language, alphanumeric characters, so A and B and C, that number rockets upwards. So instead of every character in your password being 10 options, it becomes 36. And so it's 36 times 36 times 36. I'm not doing the maths on that one, I'm going to try. But it's huge. And you add in a few special characters, exclamation marks and tildes and all the hash signs, and you end up with truly enormous, hard to guess passwords. And we all know that thing where you type it in, it says, no, not accepting that, it's got to be, and sometimes it can't be more than 8 characters.
Yeah.
It can't be more than this, but it can be this, it's got to be that. It drives you mad.
Yeah, so it's important to have good, strong passwords. Ideally, you shouldn't be using the same password in different places.
Why is that?
The reason for that is if hackers or scammers do manage to get one of your passwords and you use that anywhere else, they can try other sites that you will potentially be using.
They will try other sites, yeah.
And that's where we get to email password, and that being your most important password. Why is that our most important password?
Because most of us, definitely the case, I never delete any emails.
Not me.
Start. So I've got 15,000 emails on my main account. Yeah. My life is on there. If you wanted to find out anything I've done, when I did it, where I purchased, what websites I use, it's all there. Along with probably a lot of passwords that I've sent to people and things that are in those emails. Don't ever send passwords in your emails, but we've all done it.
Yeah.
So once they get your email, they've got everything.
Yeah, so if they manage to get into that, and say they have all of this personal information about you, but not only that, they know all the other websites that you use and that you have accounts with. So if you've reused your email password for any of those, they will go straight to those sites, try the same password, and they'll get in there as well. So your email password needs to be a good, strong password that you don't use anywhere else.
Yeah. I would say that, so the top tip I took from a chap called Steve Gibson, online shortly now. So the top tip, and you won't like this, but this is what they always say, is a password that you basically can't type in by hand. If it's so hard to remember that you basically need to look it up and copy and paste it in, that's a good password. Most of us don't manage to do that. I mean, that's a very high bar. Yeah. But it should be something where you look at it and go, oh dear God, I can't. The thought of having to type it in and go uppercase and lowercase, that's a great password. Yeah. It's hard to remember. So what we're looking at really is, with a good password, you want something where you've got a system, so maybe a different password for each website. You do something with their name. So if it's a Halifax bank, you could reverse name Halifax and add something to it. And it's just something which is not in a dictionary. It's not just monkey 1, 2, 3.
Or you can use a password manager, which will generate secure random passwords for you. You don't need to remember them because it will do that for you. You just need to remember that password for that thing.
Yeah.
Great advice, both of you. Thank you very much. A lot of our learners use social media quite a lot. What kind of things do we need to be aware of to stay safe when we're using things like Facebook, Twitter, that kind of thing?
Wow. I suppose there's lots of different avenues for problems on there. I suppose the one that pops straight to my mind is being contacted by people, whether it's purporting to be your family or just some random person. So I know with Suzanne we had a whole slew of friend requests through WhatsApp and Facebook late last year, which was all like supermodels saying they want to be my friend. It wasn't true. I don't know what the scam was there, but obviously it was a scam. So there's a lot of things where it's just trying to get you into a conversation, or again, back to what you were saying with email scams, it's just getting information out of you to use for something else.
Yeah, and a lot of these, as you say, it's trying to make that initial contact, because that's it. If they can make that initial contact with you, they go, right, we're in, now we can work on this person. And they will be friendly with you, and they'll strike up a friendship, and they'll sort of like work on things and try and slowly gain your trust in order to get information or money out of you. Or sometimes they'll just go very quickly to that, I need money, if they think that you are convinced. And the way they do that on Facebook, for example, is by finding one of your friends, taking your friend's profile picture, setting up a new account with that picture, and then contacting you, going, oh, I got locked out of my account, please can you add this one, because I'll be using this one now. And if you add them, they go, right, well, they haven't thought to check that it's actually their friend. Now I'm going to say, and also another problem I'm having is, I'm abroad and the hotel's got my passport and they won't give it until I paid the bill. I need some money, can you send me some money?
That's a good point, actually, because the reason this works is not just because people are gullible. And to be fair, we're all gullible at the wrong time. You catch us at the wrong time, but it's even, they get lucky, because they're doing this to loads of people. And if it happens that, you know, that friend is on holiday, suddenly it goes from being scam. It's like, oh my God, Dave is on holiday at the moment and he is going to Tunisia. And it works. Because you look at it and think, that's genuine. I'd better do something. And again, they put that pressure on you, that time pressure.
Exactly, yeah. So you go, oh, you know, my poor friend or a family member, they need my help, and people want to help. You know, Suzanne, you mentioned about people trying to be helpful on Facebook where they receive a post.
So is it okay to kind of like and share lots of different things if you may not know where it's coming from? You might be coming from a good place, like, you know, sharing a lost puppy or celebrating the life of someone, but do you really know where it's come from?
I suppose you have to be careful, like a lot of these things. I mean, the advice we could give you is never share anything, and that is tempting to say that. Be a bit mindful. Please try not to reshare things which are designed to be reshared. I think that's the worst thing. So where it's asking you about, well, it's quizzes and things. So please share, what's your stripper name that you mentioned earlier? What's your Harry Potter house? What's this? Those are just a way of getting information out of people. So that's just a straight in for what's your middle name, what's your date of birth, and they can just guess that from different things. You know, what's your first car you drove? And of course these things are often in your passwords. These questions they're already there.
And they're clever as well how they ask these things, because most people will go, well, if they asked me my date of birth, I wouldn't tell them that. But some people might not be afraid to say, well, I'm an Aquarius. And then if they say, Monday's child is this and Tuesday's child is this, what day of the week were you born on? And you do that. And by doing other things, they can find out your date of birth.
So I mean, this is all these games and activities. This is how the Cambridge Analytica thing happened. This is how Brexit, all that furore around how Facebook helped to unbalance things was all around these people just putting things on. This isn't Facebook doing it. This is another company using Facebook's slightly lax standards to grab that information. But then, as you said, you've got those individual actors around things like a missing dog. Can you like and share this? There's loads of different scams there. And that ranges from getting information, but even stuff like assaulting people. So there's been lots of times where it's like, I've got this thing, I need to get rid of it today, I've got a PlayStation 5 and it's £200 because sob story. And then you go and get mugged because they know you're turning up with £200 in cash. So it's that's awful. It's a bit of a minefield. Remember that Facebook is at its best when it's you and a little group of people, like-minded people, and it's your community support group, it's your local club, it's your football club, it's whatever you do in your spare time, and it's you keeping in touch with your friends in different countries. It's fantastic at that, and that's why it's so popular. But as it starts to sort of get out into everything else, there is that risk that people will use it to abuse you.
So the more community side of it, as I say, your friends and family that you've connected with, or as you say, the various Facebook groups, interest groups, joining those, because they're very often moderated. So if someone does join that group and causes trouble or posts things that are inappropriate, they'll get kicked from the group. Those are great. Going back to the sharing things, another thing is, again, people want to call out bad guys. And people will post things on, like photos of people going, this person did this terrible thing.
Yes, yeah.
And they're trying to get that shared as widely as possible, and people will go, oh, that person's terrible, yes, I will share this so everyone knows how terrible this person is. Do you know that person? Do you know that they did this terrible thing they're being accused of? If not, do not share that. Because imagine it's you in that position. Someone's got, you know, an argument, or they're upset with you for some reason, and they decide to say that about you. Would you want everyone sharing that when it isn't true? So anything negative, do your very best to avoid sharing those.
Take a few deep breaths before you respond about anything, because it's. And I try to moderate, even when I'm. It wants us to be triggered. The system, all these systems want us to get angry and upset because it gets us to engage. Because all they care about is eyeballs on the website. They want people looking at Facebook, looking at YouTube, looking at WhatsApp. They don't really care how it happens as long as it's making the money, because you're making the money by using the website, because you're seeing adverts, you're staying engaged. So take a deep breath before you write that flippic about something, and you're like, I'm so incensed now, because you do see people, and you go off half-cocked, you see it.
So I think we'd also all like to find out more about how we can keep our children safe online. Have you got any nuggets of wisdom?
I do. I've got kids. I'm not going to say how many kids, because I don't want to give away that information after the last topic. Yeah, but I have children. They may be girls. I've already said, haven't I? I've got more than one now. It's really hard. I had high expectations of myself before having kids. I worked in IT since I was like 16, 17. So I know how to do it all. Well, I thought I did. It's so complicated, and it's so awkward and time-consuming. Like you said earlier on about that relationship between convenience and safety. And your kids take up a lot of your time, and you're rushing around, and I'm sure there's people with less time than me, and you're expected to do all these things. They've got their own set of passwords. Most people struggle to remember their passwords. Then your kids have a whole set of new accounts, and every device and everything you have, and I've got lots of devices, so part of rod from my own back, they've got a Nintendo Switch, they've got a laptop, they've got this, they've got that, and all these things have their own systems for security for kids. And they're all okay, maybe, if you used it a lot and you were used to it. But I've tried logging in, like Nintendo are a company which pride themselves on being safe for kids. It's so confusing. They've got their own account, it's linked to my master account. You end up just creating an account for yourself and letting them use it as you. That's what I've done anyway, which is terrible. So I've kind of gone around and ended up, which is probably the advice I would give people, is to keep a dialogue going with the kids and make sure that you explain why they're not allowed to do certain things. And so far, they will come to me and go, can I download this app? And actually, they could just press, I hope they're not watching this, they could just press the button and download it. They don't know that because they've never done it. But there's the password thing just seems to have, it used to come up and say, get your password. Yeah. It stopped. I don't know why. I can't seem to turn it back on again. And they ask, can I have this? I have to look at it and go, yes, or this looks a bit sketchy, look at the reviews and all the things we've said before. So yeah, there's an element of trust between you and your kids I think you have to have.
Yeah, I think that is the one piece of advice I think that is perpetual, because anything else just changes. You know, we've seen technology change and it's still changing now, and you know, particularly as your kids are growing up, it will just change dramatically through their childhood. And again, as you say, in terms of how much time you have to try and keep up with these things, you're trying to keep up with all your own things you have to do with technology, and then like the amount of stuff that is targeted directly at kids is just a mountain of its own. So yeah, absolutely, having that, building up that sort of level of sort of trust with your kids, that they know that, yep, you know, go to the parent to say, oh, we want to do this, or we're going to do, you know, this is what we're planning to do, so that you're aware of it. And if anything, you know, like we've talked today about scams and things to be worried about, if anything worries them or has them concerned or they're not sure about, come to you. Again, so you know what's going on. That's the best way that you can keep them safe.
Well, I suppose that's that ties into bullying, which obviously was the major concerns, and I know you've mentioned that before, Suzanne. you almost can't do anything to prevent online bullying, unless you just say no tablets, no laptops. And of course the schools won't let you. Schools require to have laptops now. They have to do their work through e-learning platforms when they get home. You can't control that. They've all got mobile phones from like the age of 4 now, it seems like, and they want the latest thing. So you kind of have to rely on your kids to identify they're having problems, which obviously is always a difficult conversation. But I don't think otherwise, how would you know? You can't monitor, have a database that monitors every single interaction they have. You haven't got the time to see all that. So I suppose there's that. And there's some things you can do. Kids, my kids love playing online games. They play Minecraft, they play Roblox. We don't let them have headphones on talking to people online. So if they wanted to talk to me online, they have it on a mobile phone playing out loud. So any conversations, we don't try to listen in, but if we walk past their room, we can hear the tone of the conversation and hear snippets. So that's one thing. I suppose the other thing which worries me is watching videos online. I suppose there's that lack of curated content now where when they were younger they used to watch BBC, they'd watch CBeebies, they'd watch Netflix Kids. It was great and it was all somebody, a company had looked through it, it probably wasn't objectionable.
There were laws about what could be broadcast, but on the internet, as you say, it's one of the things that makes the internet great. It's also one of the things that makes the internet a terrifying place, is it is open to anyone to put anything they want on there. As you say, platforms like YouTube or TikTok, they just get a huge amount of videos put on them every day. And some of those are not going to be suitable for kids or adults even.
I think that's my kids certainly moved from, there was a sudden break, I can't remember what age now, maybe 8 or something, maybe 6 or 7, and suddenly any chance they could get onto YouTube was preferable to anything that was on TV, any film, anything else, YouTube was it. And then suddenly now it's YouTube Shorts, which is the same as TikTok. I've never watched it myself, except by looking at what they're doing and being alarmed. TikTok and what's the other thing? Like Facebook video, I suppose?
Yeah, so it's the short form videos. So typically in sort of portrait mode, so the upright that you'd have on a phone screen, because that's where most people are viewing it. But they're designed to be sort of like very often 30 seconds or less. It's just quick, exciting, and then you're on to the next one.
I find 2 things alarming, I suppose. One is the content. So my kids don't seem to be looking at anything that's particularly objectionable, except for the fact that it's vacuous and empty. But obviously you worry because they're going through so much of it, they will find some objectionable material. But you certainly do see reports of things which are just, try this life hack, try this out, and half of them are outright dangerous. So that worries me. The other thing is I watch my kids and it's just scroll through these videos. It just can't be good for you. The attention is just dropping down and down and down. All I can think of doing is limiting the time they can spend on these things.
Yeah, so there are, particularly with tablets and phones, there are nowadays getting more features for you to actually, if you set up sort of set things as child accounts, things saying, all right, I want to restrict the amount of time on this app to this amount per day. That can be something. But as I say, you run that risk then of, if you put too much restrictions on your kids, them going, right, well, I'm not going to tell you I'm doing this then. So
we've tried restrictions. I thought we'll end on this, but we've done all the restrictions and everything, and none of it works the way it should do. We've got restrictions on their iPads, but then if the iPad runs out of charge, can I borrow yours? Well, suddenly they've increased their 1 hour limit to unlimited because mine's not restricted. And they're pretty savvy as well. So I think they're fairly aware of how it all works. It sometimes just stops working. So sometimes it will just lock down much earlier in the day than it's supposed to. Or they leave it on by accident. So they've run out, so you've got to turn the time off, then you've got to put it back on again. And that's just one small example. And I've had loads of problems with, like Google's got systems where you can control their phone remotely. And even when it works, which it doesn't very frequently, it's a killer because you're there able to do something and it pops up, can you authorise this? And you go, yes, it doesn't work, and you've got to get a phone, and I've got enough things to do. So yeah, you're right, it's hard striking that balance where the kids feel it's fair and you don't feel that they're doing things they shouldn't do.
Yeah, so it is just a case of doing the best you can, but going back to the beginning, keeping the dialogue with your kids.
Yeah, lovely.
Thank you very much.